What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about Fortnite's newest update, which had some weapon balance changes and also unvaulted several items from prior seasons. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what you think of these changes or which item you're most excited to use again. So, last night, Fortnite unvaulted the MK7, the Holo Twister AR, and the Frenzy Auto Shotgun, as well as apparently the legendary version of the Spire AR, but there was no other rarities of the Spire AR. So the first three weapons I mentioned, the Holo Twister AR, the MK7, and the Frenzy Auto Shotgun, these are available at every rarity and you will see them somewhat frequently. The Spire AR I did not see at all while playing today, but maybe the legendary version of it is out there sometimes. This is also what they did last weekend, where they unvaulted only the legendary and exotic versions of the pump. And I didn't see the pump very much either. Of these two red dot ARs, I definitely preferred the Holo Twister AR. The main difference between them is going to be obviously the sight. The MK7 has a red dot sight, whereas the Holo Twister has like the holographic sight. The Holo Twister feels like not as zoomed in and doesn't take up as much of your screen. But the MK7 also shoots faster, but does less damage. So it's just like a trade-off of fire rate or damage. Both of these weapons are pretty low recoil and I think decently easy to use. You can get eliminations really fast with either of them if you catch somebody off guard or out in the open. But for me, the added damage of the Holo Twister AR I found to be better for dealing with enemies that are actually using cover. And with these two red dot ARs back in the loot pool, a lot more fights are going to kind of be you and an opponent both playing off of cover, looking for like tags or opening damages on each other, often with like very little parts of the enemy to shoot at or just potentially their head. And in those situations, I prefer the Holo Twister AR, or I feel like it's better because of that added damage. If I'm just going to get two shots or like a very small window of time to shoot at somebody's head, I would rather be using the Holo Twister because that little bit of extra damage I get off those shots are going to make it more likely that I can actually push that enemy out, finish that fight, and just in general in Fortnite or any BR, the less time you're spending fighting is going to be better because then you're not as like tunnel visioned on that one spot as much. You're not allowing as much time for third parties to sneak up on you or even just hear you fighting. So for me personally, in an AR versus AR fight, I think I would definitely rather have the Holo Twister AR. If someone's just standing out in the open, then sure, it doesn't matter which one you use. And it's not like the MK7 is bad, but today I definitely preferred the Holo. With its faster fire rate, you would think the hip fire on the MK7 would be a lot better, and that would be one kind of advantage it has. But its hip fire, like accuracy, the spread is so large that it makes it pretty bad to hip fire with, especially if you're jumping. If you're jumping while holding the MK7, the reticle is like your entire screen at that point. But both of these ARs are good, and I think for the most part, players are going to prefer to be using one of these red dot ARs now that, you won't have to worry about bloom or anything like that now that they are in the loot pool. With this update, the Frenzy Auto Shotgun also returned, and this was incredibly dominant at the start of Chapter 5, but if you guys remember, it did end up getting nerfed pretty hard over the course of Chapter 5 Seasons 1 and 2 before it was eventually vaulted. And as it stands now, it's good. It can kill decently fast up close, but it's very one-dimensional because it has a very low range. And so you basically need to be barrel stuffing enemies with this weapon to deal any sort of like consistent damage. And with a lot of players having used the Wrecker Revolver for most of this season, I think going from like Wrecker Revolver range to Frenzy Auto Shotgun range is going to feel like a ridiculous downgrade. But as I said, it's not like the Frenzy Auto is bad. I just don't think it's the best shotgun in the game currently, and I would still prefer to use the Wrecker Revolver. There will certainly be people out there that prefer the Frenzy, and there will be some fights where the Frenzy Auto Shotgun is just the best shotgun in the loot pool right now. But I think for a majority of the fights and how I personally want to play, the Wrecker Revolver is still going to be my preferred option. I also really like carrying Flowberry Fizz, and if I'm fizz jumping over an enemy with the revolver, that's no big deal. With the auto shotgun, I felt like I was like basically on the outside of my own range, not dealing very much damage when I fizz jumped over people. So like that's kind of how small the range on this auto shotgun can be, especially when compared to the revolver. When the auto shotgun was at its peak, not only was it a lot better, but it was also competing against the hammer pump, which was like a pretty balanced pump shotgun. This season we have the Wrecker Revolver, and I think it just clears the Frenzy Auto in its like very nerfed state. And with this being a Chapter 5 weapon, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about attachments. It just has no attachment, so it's not like random ones have different attachments or there's mod benches or anything like that. Every Frenzy Auto shotgun you find will just have no attachments on it, so it's just the basic, most bare bones weapon, most bare bones version of the weapon, but it still can kill. Like I said, it's not terrible. I just don't think it's the greatest. At this time, we don't really know if these weapons were added for the remainder of the season or if they were temporary unvaults like last weekend. Going into last weekend, Fortnite made it very clear, I felt, that those were just for the weekend. But this time, Fortnite hasn't said anything about these weapons to suggest one way or the other. I haven't seen Fortnite address or like mention that these weapons were unvaulted on any social media page. So I don't really know if these are here to stay or they're for the weekend. I kind of lean on them being for the weekend just because it kind of feels similar to last week where they just unvaulted a bunch of stuff. But I guess we'll have to see. And then the Twinfire Auto Shotgun and Deadeye DMR were also both vaulted, so they were removed from the core loot pool, which is interesting because there was also some weapon balance changes yesterday, and the Twinfire Auto Shotgun did get buffed. So the biggest change, I think, with yesterday's weapon balance changes is that the Wrecker Revolver was nerfed. I believe its damage was reduced by 6%, so not a massive damage nerf, but a nerf still. While playing today, the revolver still felt very good, and I think this is still going to be most people's preferred shotgun. It is kind of hard to say right now, though, because while playing today, I was still using the Wrecker Revolver, and a majority of players that I went up against were also using the Wrecker Revolver. And if we're all using the same thing, it kind of doesn't matter whether or not it was nerfed or not, right? But I think most people wouldn't even notice that the revolver was nerfed if they weren't told about it. Like, it wasn't a massive change. Still very good. The item that I was most interested in after seeing the balance changes is going to be the Precision SMG because it got several changes. Its magazine size was increased from 21 to 23. Its fire rate was increased by 1%, and its range was also increased by 5%. And none of these changes are drastic. Like, on paper, it doesn't look like it changed that much. But the Precision SMG, I think, was already a very solid weapon, especially with the previous loot pool where it was the only red dot hit scan weapon. With Fortnite bringing back the MK7 and the Holo Twister, the niche the Precision SMG would have had to shine, especially with these buffs, I feel like has just completely gone away, and you're better off using the Holo Twister or the MK7. So I feel like them unvaulting those two weapons just kind of makes the Precision SMG pointless, and it kind of confuses me on why they even decided to buff it. But it's already been a solid weapon, and its mag size has been one of its biggest problems. And while going from 21 to 23 isn't the biggest deal, there also is the extended mag boon this season. So being able to get that and stack that on top of this, bonus bullets that you got, I believe brings the Precision SMG up to like 28 bullets. Just not crazy, but it's, pretty standard for an AR. It's close to 30. So I would have liked to see how this buff would have played with the SMG had the other AR or had the other red dot weapons not been unvaulted. Another weapon that I think got a buff that would make it interesting that just doesn't get to shine is going to be the burst pistol. Its magazine size was increased from 18 to 21 a few days ago, and then yesterday its magazine size was increased again from 21 to 24. And like I said with the SMG, it's not like this is a huge change, but when you stack this with the extended mag boon, compared to a few days ago, the burst pistol has a lot more bullets in the mag, and that was also one of its biggest problems. And it also got a fire rate increased by 5%, so it's going to shoot a little bit faster. The burst pistol, again, though, I feel like it's kind of just unfortunate. These red dot ARs being added back to the loot pool, I feel like just dominate that slot and don't really give much of a chance for these third-person weapons to shine. But also the interaction between the Wrecker Revolver and the burst pistol, if you shoot the Wrecker Revolver and then swap to the burst pistol, you're going to get a small delay because of how Fortnite tried to address people running double Wrecker Revolver. So even if the red dot ARs weren't in the loot pool, using the burst pistol would feel kind of weird because of that, because I still want to use the Wrecker Revolver. And then the final weapon that got buffed is actually going to be the Twinfire Auto Shotgun, and as I said, they removed this later on in the night. So the Twinfire Auto Shotgun got a slight damage increase, and a slight reload speed increase. So not a drastic change in either regard, but something that could potentially make the weapon a bit better. But, you know, they did this yesterday afternoon, and then yesterday evening they vaulted it. So I'm not really sure what went on there. I've been told it is still available in Blitz, so, you know, if you want to try it out, it's there. But it is kind of funny that they buffed a weapon and vaulted it in the same day. And, you know, based on how Fortnite does patches, it seems like most of the time they're balancing for Battle Royale. Can't really recall a time where we've seen weapon balance changes for items that are exclusively in Blitz or exclusively in Reload. So, yeah, I don't really know what happened there. Speaking of Reload, there also is a free skin that you can unlock by playing this weekend. If you win a game of Blitz Royale, if you win a game of Blitz Royale 6-stack sometime between Friday, September 12th, which is today, the time I'm recording this, and then Sunday, so sometime this weekend, if you win a game of Blitz Royale 6-stack, you can unlock this Sunny skin for free, and you will actually get her on the 15th. I'm not sure if she's going to come to the item shop or she's just going to be granted to people who get a win in that time, but simply all you have to do is win a game of Blitz Royale 6-stack sometime this weekend, and you can unlock that free skin. I think as far as free skins go, this one is actually quite good, but that is going to be it for the changes in the most recent update. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like some more. Let me know what you guys think of the changes down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.